Thanks, guys, for joining us this afternoon. We'll give it a couple of minutes so that people can join the session today. All right, it's 2 past. I might kick it off. Thanks again for joining us for our fourth webinar with Pounce Marketing. Today, we are going to be talking about amplifying your LinkedIn presence. So both from a personal and a company branding standpoint. Today, I am joined with Jeremy and Simi from Pounce Marketing. We're going to try something a little bit different. So what I ask is if you do have questions, please feel free to add that into the Q&A. And if we have time later in the session, we'll try and answer and go through those. We're also looking to change it up and have it as a bit more of an interactive session today. So we have a few volunteers that have volunteered their company LinkedIn profiles for Pounce to do their thing and run through that profile, give their tips and some feedback on how they can improve it. So with that, I will pass it off to both Jeremy and Simi to kick us off for the session.
Hey guys, how are you all? Nice to virtually meet you. I'm Jeremy, obviously, and Simi is the other person you'll be hearing from through this. A few things. First of all, we apologize that Sim, who was supposed to be handling this, can't join us today. There's been a medical emergency, which is unavoidable. She's all fine and everything, but unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. But you're in the capable hands of Simi and the culpable hands of me. So anything could happen. But what I'm going to do is just before Simi starts is just talk you through a little bit about Pounce and how we came to be. And basically, Sim was working as basically a senior, very senior account person in Asia. And the big passion for Sim was always making sure that B2B businesses felt like they were getting as much attention and love as other areas of marketing, because there was very much a trend in the early days that people would go, oh, it's just B2B, just get it done and get it out the door. And Sim felt that that was wrong. And she tried to talk to the company she was currently employed with at that time and said, look, we need to do something about it. But the company wasn't buying it. So what Sim did was she left, went out on her own, and set up her own company. And that company is the one that you've got in front of you today, Pounce. She chose the name Pounce because she liked the sort of idea of a tiger ambushing and jumping out and the energy and passion that comes with that word Pounce. And she set up Pounce. And as I said, the whole reasoning behind it was to make B2B businesses feel that their business is as important as every other aspect of marketing. And straight from the get-go, Sim was massively inundated by clients going, yes, finally, somebody is giving B2B the care and attention that it deserves. After a year, Sim realized that she couldn't do it alone. Luckily, she'd met a handsome young fellow called Rax, who was her he was not only become a business partner, he also became a life partner, and now they're married. But he brought in, from his company Signation, he brought in his skills in the technical area, and they basically started expanding at a great rate of knots. They employed a dev guy, and then they've got a social person now, and they've got a content lead, which is myself, and design. And basically Pounce has grown year in, year out, and it's got bigger and bigger and offering more and more services every year. So that is a little brief synopsis of how we got here today. So I know that time is obviously a tick in here and I could talk all day and you don't want to hear me. So I'm going to hand you over to Simi and let her tell you a little bit about amplifying your presence on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. My name is Simi. Obviously, I'm not Sim, but we have the same name, so that's got to count for something. I work as a content producer here at Pounds, and just a little bit about myself. I'm originally Indian. I grew up in Thailand. I moved to Australia about 5 years ago. I've worked as a content creator for various businesses. I also have my own page on Facebook where I produce content, and I have over 20,000 likes. So basically what I do now is I am in charge of producing all content for Pounds and for clients, and especially for LinkedIn. So I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm very passionate about creating content, and especially recently, I've been very, very much into LinkedIn. And 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to say this because the way that LinkedIn has transformed in the past 5 years, it has grown into something that's really big. And that's why we're here today to discuss ways to amplify your presence on LinkedIn and how to create the best kind of content for LinkedIn. So just to start off, I want to talk about this quote by Jill Rowley. She's a very well-known sales and B2B marketer in the SaaS space. She says, LinkedIn is no longer an online resume, it's your digital reputation. This quote speaks really, really strongly about the position that LinkedIn has in our online world and in the social media realm, right? So originally, LinkedIn might have been created for, look for jobs or hirings or professional networking, but it has grown and it has transformed into something so big that it's literally become your digital reputation, right? And the way I see it personally, it's like your own digital brochure, right? Let's say you go to a networking party, you meet someone and they're interested in you. They want to know more about you. They want to know more about your brand. LinkedIn acts as a really good brochure, as an invitation for them to get to know more about you, to get to know more about your brand, right? Now, the important thing here to remember is it's not difficult for people to find you on LinkedIn, right? It's not difficult for people to look up your name. That's what everyone does right after an interview or things like that. They look you up. But the thing that's really important here and what we're going to talk about in this session is after they've found your profile, after they've come to your page, how do you retain that attention? How do you grab that interest and, create content to cater it? And, throughout this question, I want you to ask this question to yourself. Is my profile optimized enough for them to stay? Is my content compelling enough for them to follow me? So these are the kind of questions that you want to be asking yourself throughout the workshop. So let's start with a little bit of a brief history about LinkedIn. So why LinkedIn? Why should you invest into LinkedIn? Why should you put all your resources and time into LinkedIn? So LinkedIn actually launched in 2003, but it's climbed up to be the world's largest professional networking platform. That being said, it has over 740 million users around the world and 55 million registered companies. As I said earlier, it was created with an intention of being a platform for building your career and professional networking. But the thing that LinkedIn has done really well in these past few years is that it has incorporated that professional, that corporate side really well with the personal side. And when I say personal side, it's something you find on Instagram or Facebook. So LinkedIn has done a really good job of combining these two elements. And that's why LinkedIn is a really powerful platform, not just for career building or networking, but also for personal branding, content marketing, growing your business, generating sales and leads. And so what I'm going to do now is show you a few ways in which you can really amplify your presence on LinkedIn and create content to cater your audience on LinkedIn. So let's start with your personal profile. Your personal profile is like the first impression. It's the first thing that people see of you. And that's why it's really important to first work on your personal profile. Now, many of you here may be thinking, I only joined this workshop so I can work on my company page. Why should I invest my time into my personal profile? And there are two main reasons for that. Reason number one being, you need to understand the mechanism of LinkedIn before you can actually work on your company page. You need to know what works. You need to know what kind of profile attracts people. You need to know the kind of content that pulls people in. And there's no better place to start doing this than your personal profile, right? There's a lot more room for error. There's a lot more room to try and see what works, what doesn't, and just to have fun with it. The second reason is once you've optimized your personal profile, you can really, really leverage that into your company page later on, right? So let me just take you through a few ways in which you can optimize your personal profile. Now, one of the things that I love the most about LinkedIn is that you can personalize just about everything. You can add a description to almost every update you make. And the first thing that we want to personalize is your headline. If you look to the right, to the image on top, the headline is the line under the name. So in this one, it says marketing manager at a SaaS company. Now, that's not a wrong headline. It's correct, right? But something that you want to keep in mind, which I've said earlier, is there are 740 million users on LinkedIn. Now, let's say if 70% of all marketing managers just write marketing manager on their headline, there's a very high chance that you're just going to get lost in the crowd. People can just throw past your profile without glancing because it's not really standing out. And there's also a misconception about LinkedIn that you have to be formal, you have to be professional. But the main thing is you want to have personality. You really want to stand out to catch people's attention. So I've added another example in the bottom image where it says marketing manager, SaaS apps, driving growth from 10K to 50K, without spending a cent on ads. Right away, that sets you apart. It communicates what you do, the field you're in, and the results you produce, right? That sets you apart automatically. Now, the other thing that you can start personalizing is your, so on LinkedIn, you can add job positions, whether it's past jobs or current jobs. You want to make sure that you add descriptions to all of them. Now, these are a few things that you can include in your descriptions. It can be roles, responsibilities, results you've produced. What difference did you make for that company? And my personal favorite, one key takeaway that you learned from being in that job. It doesn't have to be a technical skill. It can be a soft skill, just anything you feel that gives you personality. Yeah, so you want to add a description and personalize whatever you can just to set yourself different. Now, the next thing that we want to look at, so once you've set up your profile, right, you've added some personality, you've added some description, you're standing out. Now it's the time where you want to call in people to kind of show them your profile. So there's a few ways to build your community on LinkedIn. And one of the best ways is to join in on a trending hashtag. Recently, there was a hashtag that went viral called I am professional. On the right side, I've included an image of a really well-known influencer on LinkedIn who became involved in this conversation. So getting involved in trending hashtag really gives your content extra visibility and exposure. The next thing you can do is building relationships with influencers. So, replying to their content, engaging with them, and hopefully they'll do the same to you. That gives you a really, really big leverage because influencers, they have a huge group of audience. The next thing you can do is join groups. So similar to Facebook groups, there are LinkedIn groups, and there are specific groups for whatever industry you're involved in, cybersecurity, IT solutions, SaaS, whatever you're in. Join those groups and participate, offer valuable content and reply to comments. That will really give you more exposure and help you in building that community for your profile. And the fourth one, which kind of links back to everything I've just mentioned, is participation, right? You want to keep participating with people who already are your connections, people who could be your potential connections. The more you interact with people, the more they're going to interact with you. And that's just a win-win algorithm here. And yes.
Simi, I just had a question on the trending hashtags. How do the guys find out what is a trending hashtag?
I think it's a bit tricky here because there's no website that you can actually, there is, but it's not always up to date on which trending hashtag, it could have gone viral that last week. And I think the best way is to follow influencers that you're interested in. And influencers and figures, they always are talking about trending hashtags. So that's a really good way to kind of stay up to date on what's actually trending. And obviously, constantly checking your LinkedIn. Yeah. And so, once you've built your personal profile, right? You've had a really nice profile, you had a really unique identity, you've built a certain amount of connections for your profile. Now is the time that you want to start focusing on your company page. So the first thing that you want to do, similar to what I said about the personal profile, this is the first impression that people get of your brand, right? Your profile picture, your banner, your tagline, those are the most important things. I'm sure most of you here who have company page already have profile pictures, but it's also equally important to have banners that sends a really strong message about what your brand is and what do you stand for. And in the tagline, which is the line under the name Pounce Marketing, it should be a very short line that right away communicates to the audience, what do you do? What can you do for them, right? It should communicate that really compelling. And if you want to add more description about your company story, how you started your company or your products or services, make sure to put that in the about section. Now, important note to remember, there is no word limit to the about section, but I would recommend keeping it short, maybe 150 words. Make it really, informative, but also succinct. And one thing to remember about LinkedIn is that it's actually SEO friendly. So if you have some knowledge on SEO, now's the time to do your keyword research and add in relevant keywords to your bio. And so once you've optimized your page, you've updated your banner and your profile picture, you've written a really compelling tagline, now is a time when you want to start growing your community. You want to start bringing people in once your page is ready. So as I mentioned earlier, you can actually leverage from your personal profile. And what you can do is you can invite the connections that you have. Of course, people who are, might be your target audience or people who are relevant to like your company page. So that's a really quick and easy way to grow your audience. The second way is adding a LinkedIn button to your email signature or your website. If you are already doing that, that's awesome. If you're not, do it, because it honestly doesn't take that much effort and you never know who's gonna click on your profile, right? So yeah, always seize the opportunity to promote your page whenever you can. The third thing is you want to encourage your employees to be active on LinkedIn. So make sure that their job position is updated, they're tagging your brand. And on the right side, I've included an image of a post by Pounce. In the three-dot menu on the top right hand side, you can actually click, and when you click notify employees, LinkedIn will actually notify all your employees that you've uploaded a post. So this gives you a really great chance of them interacting with your post and resharing your content. And the fourth thing is, I've mentioned that in the earlier slides as well, is that participation is one of the most important things when it comes to building your connections on social media, right? The more noise you make, the more you will be heard. So just keep that in mind when you have your company page. Always reply to messages, always reply to comments. Now,
sorry, Simi, I just wanted to add in a bit of feedback there, or
yes.
a bit of a tip in growing their following as well.
Yeah.
Because it's is this still on personal?
No, this is for company.
Yeah, so with your company profile, you could also add that link into your customer onboarding. So when you're onboarding your new clients, you could have a bit of a rundown sheet of, you know, your main points of contact, how to get support, and then it's like connect with us on social. So then it's quite an easy click for them to then, you know, follow you and keep up to date with all of your posts and social channels.
Yeah, I completely agree, Meryl. I think that even with Pounds, we try to include all our social contacts, you know, in documents that we produce or anything that we produce from the company. There's no harm in actually including your social handles on it. So yeah, that's a really great point. And so now, content is like the meat of the sandwich, right? Because if you've created a really company page or personal profile, if you've got a huge amount of people following you, but if there's no content, then why are they there? You know, so this is a very important part that will really grab their attention and kind of retain their interests. So there are so many aspects that come into play when creating content for LinkedIn, right? I'm not going to go into detail into each and every one of them. There's formats and the time and content topics, but this is just a few things to keep in mind when you're creating content for LinkedIn, right? The most important thing is focus on who you're speaking to. Now, you might have, let's say, 10,000 followers, but not all of them are your target audience. So you really want to create content that caters to those target audience. And one very important thing in all of this, I would say, is when you're creating content, always ask yourself this question: is this delivering value to me or to the audience? So always think about providing value to the audience through your content, right? The more they get value from you, the more they will come back for more. The second thing is, you know, because there's so many people and so many companies on LinkedIn, you really want to have a voice. You really want to add personality to your content. If you're a brand, that means your tone of voice. So don't be afraid to show some personality and some voice to your content. The third thing I would say
sorry. Can I just add something on that? Yes. That second point, don't be afraid to have a voice. This is something I've been doing content writing for a great many years, and there is a lot of content out there where people just put down the facts or the information that they are trying to get across, but they don't put any differentiating factors. So don't forget that at this point, what they're reading here is the voice of your company. And it needs to come across as though it's coming from someone who has a strong opinion, who has their own way of writing and their own way of speaking. And that needs to come across at this point as well. So don't be generic with it. Don't be afraid to express yourself.
Yeah. Sorry. No, that was really great, Jeremy. I completely agree. Thanks for adding that. Yeah. The third thing is embracing vulnerability. Now, this is a very, I would say, a very new trend to social media, but it's something that is growing very quickly. So on LinkedIn, because it's a professional platform, right? There's a lot of talks about success, personal success, career success, company success, but that's not how life actually is. You know, there's failures, there's disappointments, and it's very important for you as a person and as a brand to kind of talk on both things, both the failures and both the success. You don't want to create content that is made to seem perfect. You want to create content that is real so that people can relate to you, people can resonate with your content. And the last thing to keep in mind is, you know, there are so many different types of formats of content on LinkedIn. There's articles, there's videos, there are images, and experiment with it, you know, have fun with it, try and see what works. Obviously, there's a few formats that has been proven to work really well, like videos and images, but don't be afraid to try other formats of content. And on the right, I've included a really great example of, you know, a person on LinkedIn embracing their vulnerability and having a voice, and at the same time offering value to the audience. So that's a really great example of content that's on LinkedIn. Now, these are a few content examples that I've gathered from our page, Pounce's page on LinkedIn, right? So we cover a different range of topics. We talk a lot about our employees, what we stand for. We also talk about topical subjects like International Women's Day. And sometimes we also offer thought leadership content, like on the right-hand side, how to create a great work culture. So depending on what industry you're in, the topic varies. For MSPs, it could be, you might want to focus on differentiating different products and services and really making each of them stand out. And with the format, as I said, each format kind of answers different objectives. If you want to engage with your audience, you might do that with video or polls. If you want to produce a longer piece of content, it might be through LinkedIn articles or PDFs. So different formats kind of answers different objectives, and you really want to do what works best for your industry or your brand. And so just a few additional features that you can do on LinkedIn. A lot of us as brands, we do a lot of events, and LinkedIn events is one of a really good feature on LinkedIn because number one, it's free to use. It's one of those event managing function that allows you to engage with the audience before and after the event. That's something you don't always find on an event website. And there's different features on how to set it up. Obviously, there's virtual events, there's LinkedIn Lives, and I won't go through all the details, but I'm just going to go through some of the benefits. One of the benefits, as I said, is you can engage with your attendees. And one other important thing is you can actually track all of your audience demographics, what their job titles are, what age they are, whether they're male or female. You can even track your events return on investment, which is something that you can't do on a lot of the event websites. So this is a really great feature. If you do a lot of events, I definitely recommend you to learn more about it and check about it. And one other thing that you can do on LinkedIn is when you're producing content, when you're posting content, we really recommend that you use hashtags with those content. As I mentioned before, it gives you a lot more exposure. There's a bit of a trick here, is that the only way you can do kind of your hashtag research is by the search bar on LinkedIn. You search the hashtag that's relevant to your industry or topic. And when you click on it, you can actually check the volume. So how many people are following those hashtags, right? It's a bit tedious. I know it's a bit annoying. There's no website that you can check on each industry. But once you start doing it and once you get the hang of it, it becomes quite easy to check every time. And so after everything we went through this workshop, there are 3 very important things that I want you to take away when you work on your personal profile or when you work on your company page. So the first thing is, as Jeremy said, find your voice and add personality to whatever you do, content, tagline, headlines. Find your voice and add that into it. The second thing is, your community is everything, right? Without them, your LinkedIn, there wouldn't be a point to it. So keep interacting with them, keep feeding them with value, and keep engaging with them, and they will engage with you. The third thing is, before you're posting anything, right, always ask yourself this question: does this serve me or does it serve the audience?
Or both.
Or both. But yeah, the primary focus should always be your audience, right? What they're getting from you, and that's how you can retain their interest. So this is I would say a very brief introduction on how to amplify your presence and a few examples of content you create on LinkedIn. Of course, I think Meryl will hand out a leave behind sheet for you with a much more detailed instruction on how you can achieve those things. But of course, if you need any help in setting up your account or creating content, please feel free to contact us. Otherwise, that's the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Simi. I'm just hoping as well that I know that we are at 1:30, but if we have a couple of minutes just to run through some tips. I know that we have a couple of volunteers for their company profile.
Yeah.
Did you want me to send you the URL for?
I think I should be able to open it. hold on, just give me a second. Can you still see my screen?
I can, yes.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right. So let's just go through this company page, National PC. So just a very brief overview, right? So the first thing that you see when you come into this page, it has a profile picture. That's a really good start. It has a tagline, which communicates directly what it does, what it can do for the audience. I would say in the banner section, it might be a bit too wordy. I would limit it to 5 to 7 words just to make it really clear and succinct. In terms of content, I would say that I was checking this page out yesterday and there was a lot of post third-party content. So I was reading an article the other day and it's actually proven that original content performs a lot better than third-party contents on LinkedIn. So you really want to just focus on creating original content. Of course, you can share articles and websites, but make your original content as your primary focus. And I think some visuals with, the post would also be nice. A lot of times the text only posts such as these perform really well, but it's also good to mix it up a bit and give your audience a bit of variety. Could be images and sometimes just text only posts or videos or, LinkedIn articles and things like that. Yeah. Do you
Awesome.
have Sorry, what was that?
I just have another one that I've sent through to you as well.
I don't think, do you mind opening it up, Meryl?
Yeah, just a sec.
Cool. Should I stop sharing?
Yes, please.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Okay.
Do you need me to zoom in?
Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Oxygen IT services and IT consulting. Again, this is the tagline kind of explains what they do. Helping organizations breathe easy. Yep, that kind of communicates to the audience what they do right away. I would say what might need a little bit more work might be the banner. I would say something that communicates more to what you offer, products or services and things like that. And can you go to the About section, Meryl?
Sure.
Yeah. So I would say just in terms of length, not in terms of content, this is a pretty good length of what you want to be aiming for. So it's not too lengthy, kind of gives you a brief overview of what the company does and what it can do for you. And can you go to the home section and maybe we can scroll through some of the posts?
See all posts.
Yeah. Okay. I think one other important thing that we at Pounds do as well is it's very beneficial to kind of create a template that you use for your post. You could create 3 or 4 templates just to have that variety, but there should always be consistency in terms of visual style and, tone of voice to actually create that identity for your brand. So I think that's something that we could really do here. Yeah.
The other thing on the about page is just looking at, you're talking about, peace of mind and helping people breathe easily. The problem is with things like that is that is what everybody says, and this comes back to voice and stuff like that. A lot of companies think they're saying something original, wherein in fact they're actually all saying the same thing. So you've got to try and find new ways of saying old information or fresh approaches to it and stuff to keep it interesting, because otherwise it all just, if everybody's saying the same thing, then it all becomes nothing effectively.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for running through some tips live. I know it's not easy. I know we've put you on the spot there, Simi and
No,
Jeremy,
that's
so I
okay.
really appreciate that. As always, guys, if you have any other questions, we'll be sending a follow-up email with some of the resources and a leave behind, just with some tips on both enhancing your company and personal brand on LinkedIn. But otherwise, thank you so much for carving out some time to join the session today. Your participation in this session means that you're in the draw to win a 60-minute free session with Pounce Marketing as well, on anything marketing related. So whether it's your LinkedIn presence or your branding, SEO, etc. Yeah, you might be in the chance to win that. So thanks again, guys, and we look forward to seeing you in our next session. Thanks, Simi and Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Meryl and Jesse, for having us.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye.